So welcome everyone to the PD Coordinator webinar. Today is November 14th and I am Olga Escamilla. I'm going to be your host and we have our presenter Anne-Marie Molinari-Sanders. Then we will be providing this PD Coordinator webinar for you today. I wanted to go over a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So it looks like everyone is good in connecting to audio, so I'm going to skip this slide since we already had it up. And there's two ways to connect to audio, again, through your phone or through the WebEx using your computer audio. And we'd like to remind you of some webinar best practices. We appreciate it if you keep your phones muted at all times. And if you would, type your questions in the chat pod or raise your virtual hand if you have a comment or question. And remember to select everyone when you post your comments or questions in the chat pod. And we will have question and answer times throughout the webinar. And we encourage you to ask your questions. So our meeting controls are located at the bottom of your screen. And the two most important ones, the first one is a participant pod. You can have that opened, and when it's open, it's blue. That way you can see everyone that's joining us on our meeting, and you can have the chat pod open. And so the chat pod is a really important one because we want you to be able to see the questions that individuals are asking, and if there's any information provided, we're going to post it in the chat pod so you can capture any links that you might need immediately as we go through the presentation. So again, when you have both of those open, it's going to look like this. Your participant pod is going to be open at the top and your chat pod is going to be at the bottom. And we ask again that you type your responses to everyone. And you could do that by clicking on the little arrow on the right-hand side and switching that to say everyone and then type your message. So if you could at this time, if you are able to, please type your name and hello, just so we'll know you're here, and we appreciate that, just as a test trial run. So while you're doing that, welcome Sharon. While you're doing that, if there's any questions, please do feel free to type them in the chat box. And if there aren't any questions, welcome everyone. Look at that. Hello, hello. So glad to see y'all here. We're going to go ahead and transition over to our presenter today, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Olga, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Okay, so thank you, everyone, for joining us. As Krista said in the chat pod, it is so great to have all of you here. And I've got a quick question because I'm curious as we start this presentation. What are some of the temperatures out there across the state of Texas right now? I'm just really curious. Record cold in Houston today, 42 where I am. So what's everyone experiencing out there? Is it cold? Do we have snow? What kind of things? Rain? Anything? I'm just curious as we get started here. And go ahead and just put it in the chat pod and let me know. Okay, 44. Oh my goodness. So we got 44, College Station. Okay, so we've got 40s. All right. We are definitely on the record books right now across the country as being very cold in Texas. Oh my gosh, look at these. And someone's in hibernation mode. Yes, Kelly, I know how you feel. All right, so let's go ahead and get started because we do have a lot of information today. And as usual, we have got an entire Train PD team that is going to be helping present this webinar this afternoon. So they'll be jumping in at various times. So we're going to be, our agenda is going to be discussing the literacy symposiums, upcoming webinars, training announcements, PD portal announcements, and a new topic that Krista will explain called PD Coordinator Time. All right, so first up, we have the Literacy Symposiums. Paula, take it away.
Howdy, everyone. This is Paula Bauer. I'd just like to share with you some dates about some upcoming literacy symposiums. These symposiums are sponsored by Literacy Texas, and they target the audience of community-based organizations and volunteer nonprofit AEL literacy programs. However, everyone is welcome to attend this great opportunity to get your PD credit in an area close to you. The dates, let's see, we finished the DFW Literacy Symposium about 3 weeks ago with about 150 participants, very successful. And we'll have the next group come in February. So the 22nd of February, we'll go down to Edinburgh, and the 29th, we'll go over to Longview. And then in April 18th, we have our Gulf Coast in Pearland, and we end up on April 24th being in Lubbock. We may have another one announced that's going to be over in the West Texas area, but that's to be determined. I'll keep you posted. The one thing I do want to add is that our Literacy Texas 2020 conference will be August 16th through 19th next summer, and it'll in the same place as a previous conference at the Hilton Waco Convention Center. Registration won't happen until February, and I'll give you a link at that time. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you so much, Paula. And Paula does work so hard helping with all of the literacy symposiums and with also the Literacy Texas conference. So thank you so much, Paula, for all your work with these regional symposiums. And we also have information about the TCALL conference. Dr. Olga.
Right, just a little bit of information about our 2020 annual TCALL conference. This year's the conference going to be held in Irving, and that would be February 13th through 15th. There will be a pre-conference sessions available on February the 12th, and more information is coming soon. So if you you might want to visit the TCALL website on occasion, and I'll put that in the chat box shortly, but visit the TCALL website for more information.
Thank you so much, Olga. And here we go.
And Olga again. So just a little bit more on the TCALL conference. We want to just let all of you know that there will be a Career Navigator pre-conference session offered on February 12th. And the proposed time is right now 9 to 4 with lunch on their own. And they want to, and I'll put this survey in the chat box too. I think an email went out, but we want everyone to share your ideas to help build the agenda, and I'll put that in the chat bot also. And there's going to be an AEL business meeting pre-conference again on Wednesday, February 12th, and more information will be coming on that one soon.
Thank you so much, Olga. And I see Beth has put in the chat pod too that registration is now open and proposals, as Olga said, are out. And also hotel information is available on the TCALL website as well. So you may want to check that out too, because the hotel registration and rates are available. Okay. All right, so now we have Liz Moya up on deck to talk about Manager Mondays.
For our Texas AEL Manager Mondays webinar titled Brainwaves to Brain Gain. And our very own State Director, Anson Green, along with some other invited guests, will be shedding some light on the 2 million foreign degree professionals and how we can redesign education and workforce systems for these valued workers. Registration will be available very soon in the PD portal, so please join us on Monday, December 9th at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then on the next slide, we do have additional dates that we'd like to ask you to join us, so you could set your calendar for additional learning. And we want to also hear from you. If you have any topics that you would like for us to highlight, please send me an email at lizmoya@tamu.edu. And I would like to hear from you so we can explore what areas we're not currently addressing. So thank you very much, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Liz. All right, so we have Dr. Olga Escamilla up again to talk about Workforce Wednesdays.
So our next Workforce Wednesday will be December 11th, and the topic is Soft Skills for Jobs of the Future, Part 2. And this is a continuation of the future of jobs. So join us for on December 11th from 12:30 to 1:30. Registration is available in the PD portal, and just search Workforce Wednesday. And I also, on the next slide, I also wanted to mention that January 22nd, we will have Helping Students Succeed at Work. And this one, registration will be available in the PD portal, but we're already planning next year. So mark your calendars for January 22nd, Helping Students Succeed at Work. And
Thank you.
one more.
Sorry.
And no, that's okay. And then we have our Workforce Wednesday dates. So we have, mark your calendar, we have all the dates for Workforce Wednesday. And I'll be sending this out also in our next announcement for Workforce Wednesday. I'll send out this flyer so you can have it available. And it's also going to be available in the PowerPoint presentation. So mark your calendars, share this information so that we can build our attendance on our Workforce Wednesdays. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Olga. And let's go ahead. We really have just run through a lot of information. I know this is not a question slide, but I do want to stop for a minute before we go on and see if there's any questions. I'm looking in the chat pod. So are there any questions so far or ideas before we move on? I want to take a communal breath here for a minute and just make sure there's no questions.
Can you go back to the Manager Monday dates?
Yes, I can. Here you go. Okay, that's from Tiffany, right? Tiffany, or is it? Okay, Tiffany, you ready? Okay, good. All right.
If there's a flyer, we can send that out on the next announcement of Manager Monday, right, Liz? We could send that flyer out with all the dates.
Yes, ma'am. We could do that.
Okay, and Tiffany says that would be great. All right, so moving on to the next webinars. Before we talk about November and December, I am working on January and February right now. There will be 2 Tech and Tells in January and 2 Tech and Tells in February. We'll go back to the 2 webinars a month, so stay tuned for more information in that in December. So looking forward to bringing on some new presenters in January and February. So November, Tech and Tell is going to be on the topic of vocabulary, and I'll be presenting in November. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be updating an older Tech and Tell, and the topic is So Many Words, So Little Time, Vocabulary Websites for Teachers. And I'm going to be focusing on top three websites for vocabulary. I may be touching a little bit on some apps for Android devices and for Apple devices, but I'm not quite sure yet. But we're going to really focus on 3 top vocabulary websites and discussing what Tier 2 words are. And it is going to be there's actually a typo on this one. This one is actually going to be a 90-minute webinar. It's going to be from 11:30 to 1. So if you have teachers right before going to Thanksgiving that need some PD, this is an option, and registration is in the PD portal. So this is a 90-minute webinar from 11:30 to 1. It's usually an hour, but this one's going to be 90 minutes. So in December, we're going to be back for a Tech and Tell, and I will be presenting in December. And this actual time is 11:30 to 12:30. This is a regular 1-hour webinar. And the title of this is Big Bird Has Grown Up, PBS Learning Media. And this is a wonderful website. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this website, but it is brought to us by PBS, Public Broadcasting. But it is an amazing website full of resources, interactive lesson plans, and all kinds of good stuff at a variety of grade levels for adult learners. So I'm excited to really dig into this website for everybody. Registration will be available soon. So thank you. And okay, Krista.
find my mute button. Hello. So we have started the Teacher Tuesday with TWC. It was Tuesdays with Teachers, but we have changed the name to Teacher Tuesday because it. Oh. Okay, I'm done. This is going to be December 10th from 12 to 1. The topic is MSGs for students and what that means for your program, Part 2, with Anson Green. The registration is available in the PD portal, so please go to the portal, the calendar, and register. Last time we had 113 participants, which was fantastic. Also, there is a link, and they will put this link in the chat pod for for topics. So this is a survey link, and if you have any questions or topics that you want covered from whether it's Anson or anybody else on the TWC team, please follow that link and let us know your ideas. All right, there we go.
Thank you so much, Krista. And that is the correct link that I put in the chat pod, correct? TheQualtrics.com, that's the correct link, correct? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. It was a wonderful webinar. It was great. And like Krista said, lots of participation and lots of great questions that were asked. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. So we are at an official question and answer slide. So are there any more questions, or do we need to go back and review something before we move on? Just let me know, yes or no, or give me just a communal, let's keep going in the chat pod. Can keep going. Okay, here we go. All right. So we have Beth up now to talk about the Leadership Excellence Academy.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Good afternoon, everyone. Beth Ponder here. I'm very pleased to announce that this last year we piloted a Leadership Excellence Academy for administrators and instructional leaders here in Texas. And that was kind of our pilot year, and we have received funding to go ahead and do another cohort of LEA. So we are very excited about that. The announcement just came out from Anson Green. There is a deadline of December 9th to get applications in. The announcement that Anson set out said December 1st, but we're going to go ahead and give folks a little more time till December 9th. So this is a great opportunity to build a leadership in your program, both from administrator and instructional side. So if you have any questions about that content, please feel free to email myself or Dr. Escamilla. We are working on expanding a little bit what we did in the pilot year. We actually have a planning meeting next week, and it is going to be a full year-long commitment. We'll probably have our first face-to-face in January, and then we will roll into the next fiscal year and end in December 2020. So it will be a whole year. So we're really, really excited about this, and just let me know if you've got questions. Thank you, Anne Marie.
You're welcome, Beth. Quick question. Would you like me to put the link? And I think Olga just did. Okay.
Yeah, it's there in the chat pod. So feel free to take a look at the application. If you have any questions about process, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Beth, and thank you, Olga, for grabbing that and putting that in the chat pod. All right. So now we have some new information, hopefully exciting information for all of you. And we recently had the Going Standards 2.0 training of trainers this past week, actually, one week today, on November 7th and 8th in Pasadena, Texas. And what this TOT was about was training. We had 17 participants, including some of our staff in the office, attended a training of trainers, and We now have available 2 new trainings on Standards 2.0. The Standards 2.0 that was rolled out last year. So during the TOT, I introduced a session 1 and a session 2. So programs can request these trainings, although it's going to be a couple weeks before the materials. I'm going through edits right now. The participants gave phenomenal feedback and suggestions, so we're tweaking the materials just a little bit. But if you know you want to offer this training, let's say in January or February, you can go ahead and request the training. And so I want to talk a little bit about the training. So session 1 is going to be 3 hours, and it's the PD category of literacy. And session 1 is the target audience is really for teachers and staff that do not have a strong understanding or limited understanding and experience using Standards 2.0. It really is an introduction that walks through the standards and some other things. So when you're thinking about what you may want to what you may want to request, session 1 is not for teachers that are already using the standards. It's for new teachers or new staff to adult ed. And session 2 is the second part, or it is a deeper dive into implementing Standards 2.0 instruction. It goes into more contextualization, looking at contextualized lessons, and actually creating a contextualized lesson. So programs can have both sessions for 6 hours, or they can request one or the other. So before we move on, are there any questions about this training? Okay, and you can request this through your assigned trained PD PD specialist. All right, so we have Tracy up to talk about TABE.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to let you know that on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, we had an informational webinar that DRC's Mike Johnson, conducted, giving some updates and reports about the testing times, reports, and a lot of information. It went by really quickly for me. He covered a lot of things. I would encourage you, if you did not get to see this informational webinar, we will be posting this in the Community of Practice and Assessments under the TABE 1112 folder. So if you're not a member of that Community of Practice, I would recommend doing that. And when I do post that webinar in the Community of Practice, we have to do our post-production activities with it first. But when I post it, you'll get an email saying that it's in there. I think I appreciate those of y'all that were on the webinar the other day. We had a good group and there were some good questions. But I know that what was valuable to me in the webinar was not so much the PowerPoint, was him going off of the PowerPoint script and going into TABE and pulling down some examples of reports. Reports and blueprints and different things that DRC has come up with in the past several months to enhance the experience of TABE 1112. So I would recommend going back to view that when we post it. And there's no PD credit for an informational webinar. I know it took over an hour, but it's technical assistance for you with the product, and we just offer that as a service to you guys in the field. So we can go to the next slide. I think I have that one too. We're going to send out an assessment TOT needs survey, and it'll actually go out this afternoon. And to the directors and PD coordinators, I would appreciate your time filling this out. We do have several questions on here, but we need to determine which assessment training and trainers that are needed in the spring. We have so many assessments that we can use in Texas now, and we know the past year we didn't have enough people or enough interest in Best Plus and Best Literacy. Um, we want to try to offer all of them. And again, if there's just not enough interest, we have to postpone them or cancel them. But this gives us an idea of the need that's really out there. And, some of you have plenty of capacity and others don't. And if you don't have capacity, we recommend that you send, someone to the assessment TO training of trainers when we have it. But if you're not able to do that, then there are always trainers that have been trained in our cadre of trainers, and you can ask your PD specialist to help you find a trainer that could come and train for you locally. But let's see. I believe someone posted the survey in the chat pod. Okay, that's great. And we'll send out on the listserv the announcement this afternoon. The due date will be next Friday, November 22nd, on the survey. And we really appreciate the time that you spend to fill that out. That helps us make our plans accordingly. And we want to meet your needs as best we can. So any questions about that? Just put them in the chat pod.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.
Okay, so we have Beth back on deck here.
Thank you, Anne Marie. So we've had a little trouble lately with some of our face-to-face trainings where we're kind of having to track people down to get them to remember to sign in and to sign out on the sign-in sheets. And we have to use those sign-in sheets in order to give you professional development credit for face-to-face training. It's actually written into the RFP that is required. So just a gentle reminder to encourage your staff to remember to sign in and sign out for face-to-face training.
Thank you, Beth, very much. And I see that okay, so Lorraine, you've got your question answered about the date for the survey. Okay, good. All right, here we go. So, any questions any questions? And then we will provide answers. If not, we're gonna move on because we have a lot of exciting PD portal topics to talk about. So just put your questions in there, and we'll come back. All right. So Katie, take it away.
Thank you. Howdy, everybody. We've spent the last couple of weeks reviewing some feedback from you and your staff and have started cleaning up the tech and tells in the PD portal. Several have been deactivated already due to technical issues or any kind of glitches here or there and just needing to be updated. Some of the material was perhaps outdated. So we have listed, we have a list of additional tech and tells that will be deactivated at the end of today due to these same issues. We sent an email to anyone who had these courses on their transcript on November 1st so that they have plenty of time to complete them. And we haven't had too much feedback on that. Just so that you know, we have provided a list of these tech and tells in the PD coordinator's COP, and we will continue to keep you updated with any changes. Okay. Oh, and I should add that some of the ones that are being dated, like Anne Marie said, we have one that's, I think it's the vocabulary muscles, is being deactivated, but she's doing that new one on November 22nd. So make sure you try to sign up for that one. And then, of course, we have the other one on December 20th for PBS.
Thank you so much, Katie and Laura. Thank you so much for all your hard work with this. So, Katie, here you go. Here's some more exciting updates.
Thank you. This one I am very, very excited about. We have worked so hard to publish 11 new curricula this month. So please check them out. We have Stakeholder Integration Virtual Conference, Strategies for Building Good Partnerships. That's our last SIVC one. We have 4 Manager Mondays, Universities as Stakeholders Contributing to IET Success, Serving Internationally Trained Professionals, Communications for Leaders, and Ways to Increase MSG Performance. We have a Workforce Wednesday, multi-generational teaching. And we have 5 Tech and Tells. Canva Your Classroom, Part 1 and 2. We have Turn Everyday Videos into Engaging Lessons using Edpuzzle, Part 1 and 2. And Empower Your Student Assessment with Clickers. Now, I personally have listened to the majority of these at some point or another, and they're fantastic, but I encourage you not to believe me and to view them for yourself.
Yes, so true, Katie. Thank you. Okay, so so we have Laura ready to go here.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Laura. I just wanted to remind everyone about some excellent resources that North Star has compiled. They have a set of publicly available learning resources, and they did not create them, but they did curate them. Their staff looked into a bunch of different stuff online and kind of picked the best of the best and put them together. So we really just kind of wanted to throw these out there for folks who, if you know you've got someone in your program who in particular struggles with technology and just some of our basic stuff, essential computer skills, the different components of a computer, what a web browser is, how to navigate Windows or a Mac or Microsoft Word, that sort of stuff. These are really great resources that are out there. Short little videos. They also have they've done a really nice job, you can see in the large picture, of compiling a variety of resources. So there are videos, there are articles to read, there are things to listen to. So we're really going to kind of hit a lot of different types of learners with the different types of resources that they've got out there. So again, those were put together by North Star. Really great resource for anyone who needs to brush up on some basic computer or Microsoft Office skills, or someone who just needs a little bit of extra help with those particular technology topics. That's all. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Thanks so much, Laura. Okay, so let's see. There's a lot of information in the chat pod. Is there any questions? Let's see. I don't think I missed any. Olga, did I miss any questions?
None that I can see. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Here we go. And Katie, back. Here you go.
Thank you. So I announced this back in October, but I wanted to throw it back out there just because I've received a lot of questions here and there and some things that have been coming up. So just again, this is a new Wakelet resource that's specifically designed for PD coordinators who either are new to the role or need just a refresher on how to best utilize the PD portal. Y'all, it has some amazing stuff in there. I mean, step by step on a lot of things. So I really encourage you to take a look. Some topics that are covered in there are your abilities in the PD portal. Like basically, what can you do? Because you do have more permissions than your default user. Running reports, using the admin tab to search for accounts, using your My Team. That one's a big one because there's so much we can do with it. And assigning training to staff. So when you visit that page, the site, there are green phrases. If you click on them, they're hyperlinked to instructional PDFs that will guide you and give you lots of tips. You can also provide feedback for me at the Google form at the bottom of the Wakelet, and that will just help me continue providing any kind of information that you need to know as a PD coordinator.
Thank you so much, Katie. And I see there's a question here in the chat pod. Think about this one. The new PD portal resources. Kelsey, you said, can you resend? Did not work for me. Do you mean the one for the new portal? New PD portal? New portal resources, that one?
Yes, when I posted it in there, it was missing the last digit, so we posted it again.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Olga. Okay. Katie, do we have another slide? I think. Yes.
Yes, we have 2 more to go. All right. This one I just wanted to encourage as well. We have our Learn It Live webinar series. We only have one more left here in November, just with the holidays coming up and busy schedules, but it's probably going to be a really good one. It's Learn It Live Frequently Asked Questions. It's Tuesday, November 19th at 3 p.m. So bring your questions. We'll have various topics that we'll cover of a lot of the things that we receive on our end, but we are definitely up for questions on anything PD Portal related. December dates will be added soon, and you can register for the November one in the PD Portal. I hope that you will encourage your staff to attend. We've had the last one, we had a better turnout, but this is just really for us to help support people in the portal and have them feel more confident. Of course, there's no PD credit, and they're very short. So we hope that you can join us.
All right, here we go. Next slide.
All right, and this is my last one. This is just a friendly reminder from the entire PD Portal team about the holiday hours coming up. So, as you know, it's holiday season. We're here in November. The TCALL office will be closed for Thanksgiving on November 28th and 29th. The office will open back up on December 2nd. We'll also be closed for the winter holidays starting December 23rd until January 1st. That's a pretty long bit of time. The office will open back up on January 2nd. So remember that the PD Portal team, or the PD Portal email and the phone line will not be monitored during these times that the office is closed, and this also includes all weekends. So we really want to be available to support your staff in the PD Portal, and we noticed that last year around this time we had a lot of programs that had certain things due at the end of December or things like that. We aren't here to provide that support then, and we want to be able to assist your staff. So please keep that in mind when assigning online trainings to your staff.
Thank you so much, Katie, for that all that great information. And now we have Krista, who's going to talk about a new feature for our webinars.
All right. Hello again. I actually wanted to go back up. You don't have to change the slide. And talk about the Teacher Tuesdays again. A couple of things that I forgot to mention and to remind you is that it is for PD credit, whether you're watching it live or when it gets put on the portal, it will be a course that people can access and still get the PD credit for the hour. Also, we know that this is part 2 on the MSGs for students and what that means for your program. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Anson before the webinar, please email me those questions and I can get those to him so that he will be ready to answer those questions during the webinar. So please email me with any questions that you have for that, and then of course remember the link for suggestions of topics. Okay, thank you. All right, now back to PD coordinator time. We know that sometimes you have questions about your position and as being a PD coordinator, and your PD specialists are always available for help, but sometimes if you have a question, maybe other PD coordinators have the same questions. So we want to add this time to our PD coordinator webinars to give you a chance to ask us questions while you have everybody online. And if you want to email me before the PD coordinator webinar, please do that and then just put PD coordinator time in the subject line. That way we can address your questions and possible topics. We're talking about like how to find an event in Teams so that you don't repeat or duplicate a topic that's already put in Teams for for PD. So those are the kinds of things, but it can be anything. So, and so I was just going to stop talking for a minute to see if anybody has any questions for today. And if not, just remember to email me with those questions.
Let you know, Krista, if there's questions that come in. And I just would like to just say too, I agree with Krista. I think this is a great idea because I think sometimes there's a lot of questions, and this is a really good time, and we want everyone to remember and know that these are really your webinars. So we want to make sure there's plenty of time for your questions. Okay, so there is, Eva says, no questions. I would just like to see the new courses slide again. Okay, so we can do that. And let's go ahead and go, and then we'll see if there's other questions. So new courses in the portal, right? The new ones right here. Bam, there you go. There are the new courses. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Just let me know when we can move back to the last slide. So there's 9, right, Katie? There's 9 new webinars that you've just recently published. 4, 5, if I'm counting right. Actually, 10?
There's 11, actually
Oh,
11. So there's the Stakeholder Integration Virtual Conference. You have the 4 Manager Mondays, 1 Workforce Wednesday, and then you have the Canva Part 1 and 2. Each of those are separate.
That's right.
And then you have the Ed Puzzle Part 1 and 2. Those are separate as well.
Great.
We've been busy.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you again for all your hard work from all of us as hosts, webinar hosts. We appreciate it so much and all the work. And okay, so let's go back to this last slide and let's see here. Okay, so I don't think there's any other questions. I want to just reach back out to anyone on the team if they would like to add anything at this time, or Beth Ponder, if you would like to add anything, let me know, because we're 18 minutes early. So anybody would like to add anything?
Anne Marie, this is Beth. I don't really have anything to add. I just do want to thank everyone for their active participation today and reiterate that we do want this to be a meaningful monthly time for you. So please let us know if there are topics that you'd like us to make sure that we cover and address for you in upcoming webinars. So thanks again for your participation.
Thank you so much, Beth. And okay, so I think
Mauro?
Mm-hmm.
Mauro, do you have a question? I think Mauro was going to type a question. He said, Krista. We'll wait, Mauro. You type away.
Sometimes it's, oh, here we go. Okay. Is there any new trainings on custom reports?
I'll take that one, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mauro, we are actually, Katie and I have been talking about that, and I've talked just a little bit about that with Krista as well. There is a new reporting feature in the PD portal that's called Reporting 2.0, and we're going to be rolling that out with PD coordinators probably sometime after the winter holidays. We just we didn't want to continue to train or retrain or train new PD coordinators on custom reports at this point, because Cornerstone's going to be phasing that out, so we didn't want to train y'all on it and then be like, psych, here's a new one. So keep an eye out in sometime after the winter holidays. Katie and I are going to be rolling out some information about a new reporting feature. We will have resources. We will probably offer at least one live webinar kind of introducing it and going over it. But in the meantime, if you have specific questions about custom reports, or anyone in general, if you've got specific questions about custom reports, feel free to reach out to Katie or myself and we would be more than happy to help you with that. So, and I will put our email addresses in the chat pod.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura.
Yep.
Okay. So, any other questions? This is always the hard part. Is I want to make sure we have enough time, but we don't want, dead air is always difficult. Olga, I may have you jump in with piano music. So
Yay!
Now, there are a couple of call-in users, and I just want to make sure, and we don't take attendance, but I just want to make sure we know who you are because we want to acknowledge you that you are here. So, and I don't see names without a phone. Maybe Amy or S. Farmer. Maybe that's them. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
But thank you. We, again, like Anne Marie and Beth said, this is your time, and we really want to be able to answer your questions. So let us know how we can help.
Exactly. And since we do have just a few minutes, I just want to just put a plug in for these last Tech and Tells of the year, because the vocabulary Tech and Tell, if you have teachers that are looking for resources for their high school equivalency classrooms, or even the IET classes, if they're looking for resources to use for vocabulary, that will be a good webinar to attend, as well as some reading resources in general around vocabulary, and some just discussion about how important it is to teach vocabulary. And then the webinar in December on PBS media literacy is very important because there's lesson plans. There's a lot of lesson plans. It can be attached to Google Classroom. They can create accounts. The teachers can create accounts. And what's amazing is this is an entirely free website. And so they really have access to many different things. So if you've got teachers that need to maybe jumpstart, for ideas for lessons in the classroom, that's a good one. So let me see here if there's any other questions. All right. Well, I know we are all busy with everything that we do. So I want to say, on behalf of the entire Train PD team, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you spending the time with all of us this afternoon. And thank you so much. And yes, happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving to all of you, or whatever holiday you may be celebrating. And thank you again, everybody. And as I like to say, I'm going to leave the webinar room open here for just a few minutes with our piano music. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye. Yes, everybody stay warm and healthy. Thank you, everyone. Love the music, Olga.
Thank you. I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.